Assalamu alaikum, family. I didn't know we was already live. You're tuned into the Sajdah channel, and we're going to be talking this morning about emotional hijacking. Okay, we're going to get started in about 5 minutes. So instead of the countdown, I'll just show you all a few commercials. You all can just hang out here, and we'll be right back in about 3 to 5 minutes. Be a friend, tell a friend, let somebody know. Come on over. Let's chat a little bit about emotional hijacking. Okay, see you on a few.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided thee right, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
I have told you, first part of my life, I was a farmer in Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Nobody there was looking at me blind and you thought that I would ever be a scientist. It was.
Yes, sir.
See, it is time that brings all that.
The Elijah Muhammad House presents Black Waltz in White, an electrifying and elegant movement introduced to the Nation of Islam in the 1930s by Master W. Fard Muhammad. Join us for the second event in our Arts, Culture, and Civilization series. Learn more about the level of culture and refinement taught and demonstrated by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We'll be there Thursday, June 26th at 6 p.m. in Elijah's Garden of Peace at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue. All ages are welcome to attend this special event of dance, education, and our sacred space. Visit ElijahMuhammadHouse.com to secure your seats. Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. While you're waiting for the show to come on, we're waiting on everybody to get in the room. Instead of showing those countdown numbers, things that say the show will be starting soon. I was watching a podcast the other day. We were waiting and waiting. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just show commercials during that time. So while people are waiting, they can enjoy something and take a look at something. So I hope you enjoyed the commercials that were there. Quick recap, support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. Your donations matter, means so much. In the last couple of months, we've gained a few new sponsors, a few new people whose names are going to be inside of that sacred space. And I'm so excited. We've been working on the layout of the plaques and how we're going to put that together. So you can go to Cash App, Zelle. We take credit cards, whatever's easiest for you. If you say, you know what, I'm not ready to be a sponsor right now, but I can give $25, I can give $10, I can give $100. That's fine too. We got a lot of expenses associated with that big, beautiful building. So every little bit counts. So just go to Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises, and we will graciously receive your support. Then you saw something about the Black Waltz in White. You don't have to be able to waltz. A lot of people have been scared because they're like, I don't know how to waltz. It's okay. You don't got to know how to waltz. We're going to do the demonstration. You're going to lay eyes on some beautiful movement. And when you see the beautiful dresses and the elegance of the movement, we're going to talk about what that means. All right. I didn't tell you all this, but we're real close to releasing our series on the messenger's residence. So if you're not on our website, or if you're not on the mailing list, get on there now, because you don't want to miss this. So we're just trying to figure out the formatting and where it's going to be, but we got some powerful episodes to share with you that really chronicle the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's impact on just about everything. Okay, and we can be releasing these episodes on into infinitum, right? Okay, one last thing. Sunday is our next money psychology webinar. If you joined last week and you were there, we had some powerful healing that took place. It was amazing. The feedback has been great. And so this week we're going to be talking about credit and debt, but not just credit and debt from, we're not going to bore you with going through certain things that are technical, although we will talk about those things. But I got a credit expert that's coming on. It's going to join us on the show, a surprise guest who is also very spiritual, but also knows a lot about credit and how to make us literate when it comes to credit. Most of us just know good credit, bad credit, raise your credit score if we know how to do that. And then that's it. We don't know how to use, it's like people who don't understand different types of real estate transactions and things like that. We want to educate ourselves, because the more we educate ourselves, the more we understand what's out there, the better it is for us when we have to decide that we're going to start creating different business models and different ways in which to do things. It allows us to be creative, right? The more we know. Okay. So let me know in the chat if you are coming to credit literacy on Sunday night. If you just want to come to that one event, it's only $25. So come on, let's learn, let's talk, let's put these new business models together. So today we're going to talk about emotional hijacking. You guys know now, almost 20 years ago, I became a certified emotional intelligence coach. This is one of the studies that has helped me the most in my professional endeavors, the most critical ever. And the reason why I say that is because first, when I was studying, it helped me to learn about my sensitivities and how much of a gift my sensitivities are. And so when I learned that, I also learned about the importance of authenticity, the importance of being yourself. That became very critical. And tomorrow I want to talk a little bit. We're going to save this part for tomorrow, but I'm going to talk about making your brand and making yourself a luxury, right? And it all has to do with authenticity. That's tomorrow, okay? But today we're going to deal with emotional hijacking. Let me give you the definition, the technical definition. I got a little small video that's about 3 minutes that I want us to check out. But before we check that out, I want us to go over this definition. Let me give you in layman's terms. Have you ever just been so mad or so upset over something that it just took over the functioning of your thought processes and your brain? And I'm talking about this from both sides, okay? And this is what I mean. I'm not just saying to you and I that we have to work on our emotional hijacking process and understanding how to process that information. I'm also saying that we have to learn how to recognize when someone else is an emotional hijack, okay? And then see what we can do to help them. Or sometimes we just recognize that the information they're giving us is coming from a space of emotional hijack. There are a number of things that can cause us to go into emotional hijacking. A lot of times in the field of emotional intelligence, they talk about things that threaten us, things that make us afraid for our lives. But what oftentimes happens to us in our day-to-day lives, we allow so many things to threaten our sovereignty as a person. So we get jealous, we get competitive, we get so controlling sometimes because we're so insecure. We think everybody's supposed to be like us and think like us, and we can't even mess with people who think differently, look differently, just roll differently. But I'm going to talk about that tomorrow when we talk about how to make yourself and your brand and what you do a luxury. Because in order to be a luxury brand, you have to stop allowing yourself to be emotionally hijacked by somebody who's different from you, somebody who has a different background, somebody who dresses differently, somebody who thinks differently, somebody who just moves differently. You got to be so rooted in who you are that you get off of that mark. But we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Emotional hijacking is a state where intense emotions, no matter where they come from, why it's happening, okay, especially those related to the fight or flight response. This part of the definition is why I say it makes people not realize that it happens to us every day. But when those emotions take over and override rational thinking and decision making, it goes deeper than just I'm afraid for my life or somebody's chasing me and my adrenaline is flowing. Some of us are so insecure and the foundation we stand on is so fragile that almost anything sends us into emotional hijack. And once you get into emotional hijack, then the decision making, the rationality, the way you move begins to get thrown off, if that makes sense. Excuse my poor language here. So just so that we're clear on what it is, I want to show us a video here. It's about 3 minutes, and it's just going to break it down and explain it. And as soon as we look at that, I'll come back and we'll go from there.
When we let our emotions take over and we did something that we later regretted, we end up saying, I can't believe I did that. What was I thinking? The amygdala is one of 2 almond-shaped brain structures located deep in the brain that helps you recognize and respond to threats. Our amygdala protects us from harm by receiving information from the world and quickly scanning our memories to see if the information presents any threat. If the amygdala senses danger, it acts like an emergency alarm and quickly begins the fight, flight, or freeze response way before the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making part of the brain, has time to overrule it. Once activated by a perceived threat, the amygdala causes adrenaline and cortisol to be released from the adrenal glands, located right above our kidneys, which leads to increased heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing. You may experience a racing heart, shaking, sweating, tense muscles, and nausea as this happens. Blood leaves the prefrontal cortex, where we make good decisions, and instead goes towards the amygdala and major muscles in preparation for a fight, flight, or freeze response. Because we lose conscious control of our thinking brain and our ability to make good decisions, this is often referred to as an amygdala hijack because the emotional brain takes over the thinking brain. We know too well that negative emotions can drive us to make some really bad decisions we'll regret later. This is a good thing in times of real danger. If there's a fire happening in your house, you don't want to be thinking, I wonder what might have caused this fire. Instead, you want to respond as quickly as possible, so think of this as a safety mechanism, kind of like a reflex to protect you from danger. However, this amygdala hijack response can be dangerous to us in times where we feel threatened by minor things that might not be a matter of life or death, like someone insulting you, feeling stress from an exam, or public speaking, because we can lose our ability to think effectively. Not only are you more likely to make bad decisions that hurt yourself and others, but staying constantly stressed by minor things can lead to high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, obesity, a weak immune system, and even diseases. So how do we regain control of our thinking brain and turn off the amygdala response? Stay tuned to find out.
All right. So I just wanted you to, I thought he did a really great job at explaining that so that we get it, so we understand it. Okay. And again, you guys know that on this show and with me, this is a no judgment zone because we've all been there. We've all done something that the only reason why we did it was because maybe somebody insulted us. Or we all done something and the only reason why we did it is because we wanted to show off. Or we've done something and the only reason why we did it is because they made us mad. Or we've done something and the only reason why we did it is because we was trying to compete against somebody else. And these are dangerous spaces to live in, not only to our physical body, right? Here's why. Because when you're in fight or flight, and I've talked about this on the show before, but let me help you understand. The fight or flight response is designed, sorry, I got a message here, is designed to get you away from the danger, to help you run, to help you get away from a bear or a gorilla that's chasing you, or help you lift a car off of somebody that ran over something, whatever. It's designed to, it takes all the blood in your body, and the amygdala does this, your brain does it, and rushes that blood to your muscles so that you get stronger in that dangerous situation. Your brain at that point is only thinking about liberating your body from the dangerous situation. That's all your brain is capable of doing at that moment. And so all of that blood goes away from the kidneys, it goes away from the certain organs. You get flushed. Sometimes you might get dizzy, and it's going directly to the muscles. The heart's a muscle. That's why you get that heavy heartbeat that happens sometimes when you get scared or nervous, or it's beating so hard you can hear it in your ears. And it's always good if you got a support system that you can call on. I had something that I was dealing with one day, and I called, one of my sister friends. I said, girl, read this message. It was some super good news that came in. And I said, read this message, because I was clearly in emotional hijack. And I didn't even want to respond until I knew I could talk to somebody with a rational brain at that moment, right? And we all have been through there where something happens to us. You want to have a friend, a good relative, mother, father, auntie, whoever, that you can say, you know what? Let me tell you what happened. And as a friend and as somebody on the other end, you have to recognize when a person is in emotional hijack, and you don't make it about yourself. You try to help them figure out, all right, what's going on here, right? Because that's what they need you for in that moment. It's like, I'm about to go over here and do something, and you got to talk them down off the ledge. So you got to recognize when you need to talk somebody down off the ledge, right? And if a person knows you, they can help do that for you. And oftentimes, when you're in emotional hijack, you don't know what's best for you. You are just zoning in on emotions, and you can't think straight. But what happens from a health standpoint when we do that is that our kidneys suffer, our liver, all of our organs now are not getting the profusion of blood that it needs. And this is okay for short periods of time to get you out of danger. But when you live in this space where everything is constantly pumping hard, now you're throwing off your hormones, you're throwing off your blood pressure, you're throwing your body off because you're in this state of fear. It's part of the reason why on the show, we're always talking about constants that we can say to ourselves, the way that we can look at things so that we know and can, well, I won't say we know, but so that we can rest and let our nervous system rest a little bit. Sometimes you can't think of anything to say other than, one thing I know is that Allah has never forsaken me. Sometimes it's just that bad. And that's a good place to start, because then you can build from there. Sometimes, but that'll bring you back down. Now, when we go into emotional hijack and those certain things trigger us, it is a learning lesson. It is beautiful. In the moment, it's not so much, but it's beautiful. Why is it beautiful? Because it helps us to know what direction we're pointing in and what we know we need to work on. If you and that person, and you are so competitive and so busy trying to show up and show out and show off in front of other people, that you go into emotional hijack because somehow whatever that person has that makes you jealous, whether it's their clothes, their hair, their outfit, their intelligence, whatever it is, it impacts you so severely that it sends you into emotional hijack, is something you got to work on. And what I would do if I were you is I would say to myself, what is it about myself that I am insecure about that sends me into emotional hijack every time I'm around this person? Because you can be chronic with it, right? Meaning you can just be all day, all night, just wallowing in this competitiveness, this jealousy towards this other person. And you're trying all kind of tactics and techniques to make yourself either the same or different. You're going to try to go buy the clothes. You're going to try to do, okay. Go inward. Ask yourself, what do I need to work on? Honestly, what do I need to work on? And you may not like this. It's going to hurt. It's going to make you feel bad, because you're going to be like, I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to go into myself because of them. But you should, because the way you're reacting, you have allowed in that moment whatever it is about that person that bothers you to weigh you, to have a heavier weight and influence over who you are and what you bring to the situation, a conversation, Or maybe the bell rang and it ain't even your fight. Maybe it ain't got nothing to do with you. I don't know. It just depends on the situation. But I want us to learn how to, we have to think our way through these kinds of situations. It's always good to have an accountability partner. Everybody needs a friend that they can just be honest with. I'll give you an example. Something funny. They have these beauty supply superstores here in the Chicagoland area. In an area called Melrose Park on North Avenue, there's a beauty supply store. I don't even know what it's called, but it's like a Walmart. It's a department store, but it's a beauty supply store. And give you guys some background. I tried when I first got out of college to be in the beauty supply industry. And at that time, you know, the Asians had that thing on lock. They wouldn't even let you buy stuff wholesale at a price low enough so that you could sell it in your store and even be competitive. And when I tell you I tried. I found the location. I was able to negotiate that. I've always been good at real estate. It's been a gift that Allah has given me. So I understood how to put the lease deal together and make it advantageous, right? So that I could do my build out and get my store up and all of this. I had negotiated with the landlord where I didn't have to pay rent for 6 months so that I could do the build out, fix the stuff up. I had, you know, saved up for the rent. I think I found a place, the rent was only like $900. And so then I started to say, okay, I got these 6 months and the build out wasn't really going to be that much, but I got these 6 months. Let's get the place fixed up, get my shelving. I found another store that was going out of business that had the, you know, the retail shelves and stuff. And I started shopping around for merchandise. And I found places, you know, like back then in Chicago, you'd go up on Clark Street and I was, you know, working with some people overseas, just doing everything I could, trying to get these prices low. I wasn't the only one going through this. It's funny because fast forward years later, when I met my business partner, Dr. Jeffrey Dormu, he did the same thing. We had the same idea around about the same time. He actually was working on getting hair and stuff from Africa, but I was trying. And I just couldn't buy it at a low enough price to be competitive. I could have went ahead and opened the store, but my prices would have been significantly higher because I couldn't make it happen. So I abandoned that idea, couldn't make it happen, kept trying for a while, just couldn't do it. And went on to other business ventures. And about a year ago, it wasn't even a year ago, I think it was in the fall, my stylist had told me to go there and pick up something before my appointment. And so I see the address. I'm just thinking, oh, okay, it's just a random, I had never been there before. It's just a random beauty supply store. And when I pulled up, I said, this used to be Value City. That give you an idea of how big the place is. When I walked in there and I literally saw that they had a beauty supply department store. Y'all know how I'm into my skincare products. I've studied extensively about all of that. I was so jealous. I went into emotional hijack. I was like, who the hell? They had a whole section, which was about the size of, say, if you went into a Target, like back where they would have the outdoor stuff in the back. Then they had the skincare, and then they had the hair dyes. But the facility that they had either purchased or rented used to be a Value City furniture store, meaning that it's huge. And I went into emotional hijack. I was so mad. I could not even find what I was looking for. I was like, this, because that is what I eventually wanted to grow to. And I was in there tripping. And I had to call one of my sister girls up. And I said, girl, I'm up in this store and I'm in pure emotional hijack. And she was like, okay, what did you go there to get? I told her, she said, get your stuff. Just look around, get you some ideas. And so she talked me down off the ledge, right? But I was in such emotional hijack. I couldn't even find what I was looking for. What was that? I was jealous. And when I got in the car, I said, I'm so damn jealous of them. I'm sure, it's the same people who is keeping me out of the business. But I didn't even know that was a trigger that was way back here in my emotional crawl. I had forgotten even that was something that I tried to do. And I fussed about it all day long. Anybody who talked to me that day had to hear me fussing about it. It was on a Saturday. Had to hear me fussing about that. And I ain't been back there since. Thing about it is, I could go there now and study it. But at that time when it hit me, baby. But it happens, right? It happens to the best of us. And so you need an accountability partner, somebody to help you and be like, look, I'm so mad right now. We done all did stuff. You caught your mate cheating and you was like, you need somebody you call who could say, don't do it. Don't do it. What is my point? My point is this. Understand and recognize emotional hijacking. A lot of people get so technical with it. They want you to go deep into it. They want you to study it. But part of the problem why we in our community who are a conquered people, and when I say a conquered people, I mean that our mind has been conquered. And so there are certain programs running in our brain. And anything that takes us off of that program makes us think that we're not safe, or an activity may happen that may trigger something that happened to us that put us in danger. The problem with that for us in our community, we're constantly going through that because the programming that we've been subjected to is so strong, is so chronic, it's been going on so long that changing the thought pattern and doing anything different triggers a fight or flight response and makes us not feel safe. We talked about this last week. And so simple things like, when you first come to the Nation of Islam, they say no pork. Some of us are so afraid of not eating pork that we don't even tell nobody we don't eat pork. Now it's interesting because now it's become part of the Black vernacular, right? But at one point it was not. I remember back in the day, it was not that. So you didn't tell anybody because the programming as a Black person to eat pork was a program that was playing in our brain that was so strong that people back in the day didn't even want to say, I don't eat pork. Or you may be around a lot of people who don't understand naming conventions that have been passed down to us since the kidnapping. For example, if the slave master went to Africa and kidnapped your foremothers and forefathers, they would assign to them a name. They would give them a first name, which would be like a nickname, like Toby, right? Didn't care if your name was Kunta Kinte or whatever, but it might be Toby. And then on the records, you would have a last name. So if the slave master's last name was Franklin, then you were Toby Franklin. But if the slave master decided to sell you to his friend, Mr. Jackson, when you moved to that plantation, you became Toby Jackson. Okay? So these names change. This is why nowadays when people look and they go, oh, you a Franklin, you a Jackson, you don't really know what you are. That's why so many of us look alike. That's a whole nother story, but it would move. So when we come into the Nation of Islam, we get rid of that last name. We get rid of that slave master's name and we become so-and-so X. So when I first came in the Nation of Islam, I became Wendy X. Okay. Now, that's a scary thing to a lot of people. Why? Because the programming associated with that name, just moving off of that programming sent a lot of us or a lot of people into fight or flight. So you then have to have access to information. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version, like I just explained, so that it helps you to understand, you know what? This makes sense. Malcolm X, Wendy X. Okay, I got it. I get it. Right? Even things like when you go in the store, we first come into the Nation of Islam, we were given a list of ingredients of foods that we should stay away from. So when you go in there and it's got monosodium glutamate and all these big words, you got 20 ingredients on a package of tea, then I shouldn't be eating that. So to be around your friends, and like in my case, people that I'd gone to college with, and we ate whatever, right? We were in school in Iowa. We would drive all the way to Chicago just to get an Italian beef sandwich and split that Italian beef sandwich and eat on it for a week. Stuff like that. So when you have to go back to that group now and say, you know what, I don't eat this thing that has this ingredient in it, or I don't eat that anymore, sometimes it can trigger a fight or flight response. Okay? And you got to know how to deal with that. Change oftentimes is what triggers that response. We talked about how jealousy and envy and competition can trigger it, but change can also trigger it. Again, we're like this as Americans in general, but more specifically as Black people in America, we are very program driven. This is what you do. You go to school, you go to college, you get a job. There's this process that we go through. And this is why I say that hip hop has been helpful to the Black community. Why do I say that? Not because of some of the misogynistic things that are going on, but because it is showing people that there is a different way to do things. There's a different process, a different talents and different things you can do to access wealth and abundance. The question becomes, what do you do when you get it? Right? But prior to that, and it's still always like that, either you go to school and you become an athlete and you get wealthy that way, but that educated Black person, that entrepreneurial Black person, since Reconstruction has always been looked down upon. I think if any of us told our parents, like, nope, I'm not going to college, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, they would have probably looked at us like we were crazy. And the struggles that you got to go through as an entrepreneur, especially when you've been raised in an employment driven environment, you got some growing pains you got to go through. And so even having somebody hang with you through that process can be tough. And so you may find yourself constantly in fight or flight. And I'm saying to us as entrepreneurs, constantly being in fight or flight is not the way to build your business. So don't get up in the morning wallowing in fear. Okay, let me see how many people I got to talk to. I got to make these phone calls. I got to do this. Don't do that. Plan your day out, and you got to find a way to repackage that in your mind. And I can help you with that if you want me to be your coach. If you go to book SajdahWendyMuhammad.com, you buy one session, I'll give you another one free. Because what you got to do is reframe that conversation in your mind so that as you move forward through your day, you're not in fight or flight. Because if you're moving forward through your day and you're in some form of fight or flight, you're pinching yourself off from the divine inspiration, those downloads that are going to come to you from the universe to help guide you and help you do for self. See, a lot of times when God is trying to tell you something, it may require a major change. It may require you to turn left when you thought you were supposed to go right. It may require something of you. It may require you to do something that's unorthodox or something that you just didn't plan on doing. Like, I didn't want to do it this way. But you don't want to be in fight or flight, because if it comes to you, if that idea comes to you and that's your Hail Mary, you're going to miss it because you're in fight or flight. I hope that helps. That's my talk today on emotional hijacking. And so I want us to go throughout our day and think about how many times a day we find ourselves in an emotionally hijacked state. I want you to think about that. And we can do some more talks and training on emotional intelligence. I have a lot of podcasts on it here on the show. But specifically, emotional hijacking is what we want to work on today. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about making your brand or making yourself a luxury and how you do that and what that means. All right. So make sure you register for Sunday. We're going to be talking about credit literacy. It is a true webinar that is literally going to take you to that next level. It'll be very worth it for you. I'm bringing a subject matter expert on. Not only are we going to talk about credit in the traditional sense, but we're going to talk about credit in an Islamic sense. And we're going to talk about credit in the new business models even that we are bringing in as we begin to separate ourselves from the mind of Satan. Okay. And so certain behaviors and things like that we want to check and put in place, stuff that we brought down with us through generations. We cut those ties this weekend. And so we're going to talk more about that on Sunday. And anyway, we talked about the waltz. Make a donation. Make sure you support those of you in the chat. If you say, hey, I'm out of town, I can't make the waltz, or I'm busy on Sunday, I don't have time, then you can Cash App, Zella, support the network, support the channel. I'm going to continue to do what I can to help bring value-added programming to you here on the Sajdah channel. So if there are no questions, then I think we're going to adjourn for today. I'll give it a few minutes to see if there's any questions. Anyway, with that, I'll show you all. I got 2 commercials. I want y'all to hang out and watch. Don't get off. And we'll see you all tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. right here on the Sajdah channel. Remember, it's not personal, it's vibrational. Peace and blessings. The Elijah Muhammad House presents Black Waltz in White, an electrifying and elegant movement introduced to the Nation of Islam in the 1930s by Master W. Fard Muhammad. Join us for the second event in our Arts, Culture, and Civilization series. Learn more about the level of culture and refinement taught and demonstrated by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We'll be there Thursday, June 26th at 6 p.m. in Elijah's Garden of Peace at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue. All ages are welcome to attend this special event of dance, education, in our sacred space. Visit ElijahMuhammadHouse.com to secure your seats.